Hey guys, Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. I am the owner and managing editor of the Maxfield Report, and this is our market recap for the week ending October the 25th. The week started out this past week with Packers offer list a bit mixed. The reason they were mixed is some of the Packers shortened up their list. They weren't offering nearly as many selections. It also appeared as if the load count of hides offered were also reduced as well. In the meantime, the mixed part of it comes in that some of the other Packers opted to leave their offer list alone. But for the most part, the opinion of the trade was that Packers entered the week in much better sold forward position, a little bit more confident in what's going on. Asking prices, though, were left unchanged. But that said, buyers quickly found out this week that any attempt to bid prices lower and have Packers negotiate prices were not going to happen. So early bids were lower. They were countered at full ask by the middle of the week. As usual, things started to pick up. My sense is that there was a modest number of hides exchanging hands, and I heard comments in several different directions that it was much easier to trade at steady levels this past week than it has been compared to a couple of weeks ago. That said, any attempt to get more money was met with a considerable amount of resistance. So it just appears that for right now, this market on the big Packer side is fully steady, and decent chance we may have seen, Packers able to liquidate their harvest this week, or at least come very close to it. On the cowhide side, a little different situation going on for these guys. They had been under pressure, sold to heads not where they need to be. Well, the good news is last week, 10 days, there's been a really strong amount of interest on these cowhides. There's been a number of cowhides sold. Steady levels, which, were for some selections were just barely above the break even to the point of where, it didn't make sense to keep them. But that said, I think there's been a lot of cowhides sold. Offers this past week were steady at the week prior. There's even some attempts to get just a little bit more money on some of these lower grades, and I think that did happen. So overall, I think, another decent week for producers. Levels steady to maybe incrementally higher, but that said, the prevailing opinion of the market, just like Big Packer Hides was, it was easier to sell at steady levels. So just seems like, this thing's starting to come together a little bit here. And that's good news for the people who've been selling highs, because we all know the last 31 months, it's been nothing but, downward pressure, down, down, down. And, not trying to pick sides or cheer for anybody, but, you go that long in a declining market, you're hoping for something to break. So looking at the harvest last week, that came in at 640,000. We were thinking it was going to be a little higher than that, but things started slowing down towards the end of the week on Friday, Saturday. That's because live cattle price started to pop a little bit. Packers a little short bought. That was starting to affect their bottom line. So it's a little bit of a give and take, trying to, the yin and the yang, trying to get that, bottom line to stay, north of $200 a head. So still 640 this time of year. It was 635 last year. It was 640 last week. So still pretty strong numbers. Beef demand remains good. Box price is still higher than a year ago. That's why Packers are still making the margins that they are. So last week's export report, another good week of sales for Packers. This is the 6th week in a row. Again, we're not trying to cheer for anybody, but it is exciting for those guys because they have been seeing some sales that have not been real stellar through the first part of this year, and now they're starting to make a little bit of a comeback here. So numbers came in, wet salted hides at 513,000. Shipments were 451,000. The sales of wet blue were 243,000 with exports at 131,000. So, I think it's the 4th largest combined sales week of the year. That comes on the heel of 2 weeks ago where we saw the 2nd largest sales of the year. So really positive thing there going for the sellers. The shipments were a little disappointing. I thought they'd be bigger. We still have that looming deadline with the Chinese at December 15th. Still, that's not off the table. Just, not trying to be the Fox News of anybody, but that is still looming. And that's one of the issues why the Chinese and the U.S. government have yet to sign that agreement that they came to, because the Chinese thought that wasn't going to happen. We only agreed to lift apparently the October 15th increases. So that's what's going on there. So, have to see how that plays out. So going around the world, a lot better tone coming out of Europe as well. People are telling, me that they're Again, selling hides at steady levels is much easier. There's even some, incremental increases possible. Of course, some of it's fueled by the exchange rate. That's helping to get those prices up a little bit. But also, I think that December 15th deadline is assisting in getting a little bit more sales here. But overall, I still think demand's a little better, especially on the side leather side. Maybe not the automotive side. That's still a little segment. That's backed up by reports of people cutting back on requirements. But this side leather business, I'm telling you, is seeming to be a little better than it was a year ago. Despite what anybody's telling you, all you do is look at numbers, okay? So that said, a little better tone in Europe. No one's willing to take any less, not willing to negotiate prices, and it's coming together. The good news down in Brazil, even though prices might have slid a little bit more on fresh hides, questions as to where TR1s really are trading at, it seems like there is a good amount of demand for those hides. I think some of that, and it's spilling into the U.S. market as well as European market and Australia, is African swine fever. A number of hogs are being destroyed. Those pigskins were going to go for lining leather. Well, they don't have these pigskins now because the hogs are being destroyed. They're coming in, they're buying lower grades. That's why you're seeing this cow market start to bottom out, starting to firm up. It's all because of that African swine fever. You've been reading about it in my reports. I've been telling you about it for about 3 weeks now. All that's starting to come to fruition. So Brazil, looking like we're maybe hitting the bottom. Not any higher prices, but looking like we may have hit a bottom down there. So keep an eye on that one. Going into Australia, we're hearing producers are pushing for a little higher prices. Still a little tough to get, not taking any less. So kind of following the pattern of the U.S. market, the European market. Brazil's starting to kind of trail in right there behind Australia. So the whole thing's starting to come together, looking like we might have a little better demand. Again, not cheering the market higher, but it's nice to have to talk about some positives because there's been plenty of negatives, we all know. So that said, as far as what's going to happen next week, that one, my friends, you're going to have to log into the website, take out a free trial. 14 days, no obligation. We don't ask you for a credit card. Sign up for the trial. Go to the website, www.themaxfieldreport.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page. Click on that free trial tab. 14 days, no obligation. If you need a little more, I know the boss. Call me. I might be able to let it go a little longer. So that's it for now. Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. Again, check out that website. And until next week, we'll see you. Thanks.